Hi, friend, and welcome back to Hope in June, the podcast for anyone walking through infertility, waiting, or a season of quiet hope. I'm Chandler, your host. Every Tuesday, we meet here for a few calm moments of truth, tenderness, and a reminder that you are never alone in this journey. Before we begin, let's take one deep breath together and let a little space in for whatever today brings. So we're going to inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth for 3 counts each, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. So, before we dive into today's episode, I want to check in. Now, when we do this, I'm going to pause and wait for you to answer me, okay? So, it can either be a moment of awkward silence or you can actually talk back to me. If you've ever seen Dora and you know when she asks a question and she pauses and she's waiting on you to respond or waiting on your kids to respond, that's what this is going to be like. I want it to feel like I'm in the car with you. I'm on your morning walk. I'm right there in the kitchen washing dishes with you. Wherever you are right now, I want it to feel like you are talking directly to me. So, how's your heart today? What's one word that describes how it's feeling? And I feel that it's only right if I share as well, right? So, my heart today feels a little anxious. Anxious to start a new journey, start a new podcast, anxious because I don't know if I'm going to reach all of the women that I so desperately want to help. And I feel like that's a true feeling. But again, my feelings are valid. They're real, but I'm going to do whatever I can to keep pressing forward. All right, good job, you guys. That wasn't too hard, right? This week's affirmation, I want you to repeat it after me. You ready? My story matters, and sharing it can bring light to someone else's darkness. All right, one more time. My story matters, and sharing it can bring light to someone else's darkness. Good job, you guys. All right, so I've done enough of making you talk and making you do all these things. So now you get to sit back and listen to me share my story and how Hope in June came to be. I feel like I've shared this story many times in many different ways, but I wanted to have it in one cohesive place so you guys can know start to finish what I've been through. That way you can see how I resonate with your journey, the things that you're going through. While it may be different, again, I am a part of that infertility crew. And so I just want you guys to hear my story and in hopes that it can bring a little bit of lightness to the journey that you're on. So my journey goes all the way back to 2018. I'll never forget it. My husband and I had just gotten married in January of 2018. And soon after, in March, we found out that we would be expecting our first little one. And so as any newly expecting mom, I was so excited going to all these appointments, never realized that, pregnancy and becoming a mother was going to be happening so fast for me. But of course, I was very, very excited. So I got an OBGYN. I was new to the Houston area, so I didn't have a pre-existing doctor. And so we found one and I started going to see him. It was awesome. The appointments were going smoothly, no issues. And of course, I wasn't expecting there to be any issues. I was young, just found out I was pregnant, never had any prior issues besides having PCOS. And so everything was fine as normal. I'll never forget, we were all at my in-laws' house having like a normal family gathering as we always did. And it was pretty late when we ended up getting back home. And when I got back home, I went to the restroom. I've been feeling fine the whole day. So when I got back home, went to the restroom, and when I wiped, I don't know, I never ever looked whenever I wiped to use the bathroom. I don't know what made me look this time. And so I looked and I saw brown. I was like, okay, that's strange, a little odd. Okay. And so I wiped again and it was more brown. I was like, okay, I'm not feeling anything though. So I immediately called my mother-in-law because at the time she was right around the corner. I told her everything was happening. She was like, okay. Probably not anything to worry about, but let's go to the urgent care just to be safe. So at the time I was 10 and a half, right at 10 and a half weeks. I would have turned 11 weeks that next Tuesday, I believe. And so went to urgent care, let them know how far along I was. no pre-existing complications or issues in my pregnancy. They said, of course, because I was pregnant and what I was experiencing, they wanted to do an ultrasound. So the ultrasound tech came in. She did the ultrasound. Now, if you've ever been to urgent care and you have an ultrasound done, you know that they normally don't let you see the screen when you're at urgent care versus, at your OB office, you can be all in that screen and get to see what's happening. And so she kind of had it angled away from my face, so I couldn't see what was going on. But my mother-in-law and my husband were there with me. So my mother-in-law, she's like, no, I'm about to see what's on that screen. She's also in the medical field, by the way. So she's very in tune with things that are going on, what to expect or whatever. And she was super duper helpful. So she kind of angled herself in a way in the room to where she could see the screen. And the look on her face when she saw the screen, I was like, okay, what's going on? And so the tech, of course, didn't tell me anything. She said, I will give the images to the doctor and then they will come in and let you know what's going on and review everything with you. I was like, okay. So she left out. My mother-in-law was like, we're just going to see what the doctor says. Because, of course, she's not an ultrasound tech herself, but she was able to see clearly what was on that screen, but she also didn't want to scare me. So we wait for the doctor to come in. And this man, from what I remember, because a lot of that I have blocked out, but from what I remember, he was very kind. But when he came in, he was very direct and frank about the situation. And he said, well, it looks like you are miscarrying. The baby no longer has a heartbeat. And that's all I remember him saying. My mother-in-law said on the screen, from what she saw, the bag was it didn't look how it should. Not deformed and not like deflated. I don't know how to explain it. And I would have to ask her again because, again, I blocked a lot of that out. But she said it didn't look like how it normally did or previously did in my prior appointments that I had just had, I believe, the week before. And everything was fine. So he let me know I needed to call my OB. Mind you, this happened on a Saturday night. So we were at my in-laws' house for a get-together on Saturday. This was late Saturday night. I was supposed to go to church on Sunday, and I would not be able to contact my OB or get in for an appointment with him until that Monday. So it was a lot going on. And the worst time, if you have ever had a miscarriage or anything, the worst time for it to happen is over the weekend because you have to go the whole weekend not knowing what's going on until you can see your doctor on that Monday. So that was my situation. He said, your OB will be able to officially confirm everything, but that's what it looks like is happening. He said, if you have any more, spotting, bleeding, cramping, then let your OB know. And so, of course, I'm boohooing. I'm hysterical because I don't know. He's not telling me it's a definite. I'm not having any more bleeding or spotting. I'm not even cramping at this point. So I'm left with this could be happening or it could not. So I end up going to church on Sunday. Of course, I'm letting my parents know, who are all the way in Alabama, know what's going on. I'm hysterical. I'm boohooing. And my sweet, sweet parents immediately got on the road 12 hours away and drove all the way to Texas to sit with me and be there for me from when I go into the doctor's office to receive the most devastating news on that Monday morning. I'll never forget, and I'm eternally grateful to them. My mom had experienced 2 miscarriages herself, so she knew the shoes that I was about to walk into. She knew the path and the journey I was about to walk into, and the fact that they drove all that way to come and sit with me was so important, and I'm forever grateful for them for doing that for me. And so I believe, if I remember correctly, I went to church that Sunday. My parents ended up getting here late that Sunday night. That Monday morning, I had an appointment to see my OB. I think we all went to eat breakfast that morning. And, my parents are just trying to speak positivity into me. They're like, no matter what, we're here for you and you're going to be okay, whatever the outcome is. So I go into the doctor's office, me and my husband, and y'all, my doctor, mind you, up until this point, we've had great appointments. We've had a great relationship. He's been awesome. When he came into that office and looked on the ultrasound, his bedside manner, I don't know if he left it at home that day or what, was completely non-existent. This man did the ultrasound and looked at me and said, yep, you had a miscarriage. The baby is no longer here. The baby is no longer viable or something like that. excuse me, sir? So of course I'm trying to hold it together because I don't want to like start screaming and boohooing in front of this man. And so he tells me that, and he says, okay, so we need to schedule you for surgery in the morning because you need to have a DNC, remove the baby. It's an outpatient surgery. After you have the surgery, you'll be able to go home, you'll rest for a few days, and then we'll see you for an appointment after that. And so he's telling me all of this, literally all in the same breath. It felt like, you just did an ultrasound. You just told me that I no longer have a baby inside of me. You told me that I need to have surgery in the morning and be out for a couple of days from work in recovery and then come back for a checkup appointment, for a follow-up appointment. Huh? So I'm like, again, trying to hold it together. And that sweet, sweet nurse, she saw the look on my face. I said I wasn't going to get emotional through all of this, so just bear with me. But a way that I tend to cope with things is I kind of block them out and like compartmentalize things. And so having to walk through this and go through all those emotions, all those things I felt again is kind of bringing up a lot of emotions. So I do apologize if I do start crying, but like it just happened yesterday, but it was a very overwhelming time. So he walks out, literally no, I'm sorry or nothing, just like a very matter of fact way. He comes over to me and gives me the biggest hug and tells me, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to schedule everything. You're going to be fine. I'm like, what in the world? So I'm crying in her arms. She leaves me. She's like, I'm going to give you a moment to, get dressed. She said, and stay in here as long as you need to, which was so sweet of her because she didn't have to do that. So my husband, of course, comes over, is consoling me. I'm like hysterically crying, loudly, bawling, wailing, and it was horrible. Best way to put it, it was horrible. In one moment, I went from being a mother to no longer being a mother, and now I was about to have a major surgery that I had never heard of before. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to expect. The only other surgery I've ever had in my life at this point in time was having my tonsils removed, which was back in early college days. I didn't know what to expect. So I go out, schedule the appointment. The next day, of course, we go out to the car, tell my parents and everybody what's going on. Our family was amazing, really, really rallied around me during that time. Went to the hospital the next morning, had the DNC. Again, my doctor did the DNC. He came in, still matter of fact, no apologies, no sympathy, nothing. Did the DNC, let me know I was going to need to recover at home for a few days. And that was it, y'all. And so I remember when I went to my follow-up appointment for them to make sure that, all tissue and remnants of the baby had been removed. I asked him, I'm like, why does this happen? Like, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Was I taking something wrong? Like, because I'm a first-time mother. I don't know anything. And I'm young. I'm super young at this point. So I never researched nothing, anything. So I'm asking him all these questions. And his response to me was, it just happens sometimes. These things just happen. Let me know when you're ready to try again. So needless to say, and this is a topic that we will get into later in a future episode, I decided to part ways with that doctor because he was not willing to do the work and put in the effort to figure out what the root of my issue was. Now, I will say this, I know everyone's situation is different. Everyone doesn't have a particular issue or thing that's going on that leads to the reason why they have miscarriages. And sometimes, unfortunately, they do just happen. But everybody's situation is different. Me personally, I feel like that there's a cause to everything. But again, everybody's situation is different. But for me, I felt like there was a root to the issue and I needed him to figure it out or explore everything so that we can at least say everything is perfect. All your levels are great. All your hormones are fine. Like nothing's going on. This was literally just a freak accident situation that happened. Then I could have rested easy. But you just telling me that off the bat and you never checked anything? So being an advocate for yourself is very, very important. Again, I had a mother and a mother-in-law that were very, very vocal in that for me to help me be an advocate for myself. And so I ended up leaving that doctor and transferring to another doctor that was in his practice. And he was actually the owner of the practice. And to this day, I love that man down. I love that man. I love that doctor. I love that OB because that man stopped at nothing until he figured out what was going on with me and he cared and he showed me sympathy and he acted like I was one of his own that he was caring for. And so much so even later on his son ended up working at his practice and he delivered my last two children. So But again, we will get into that later in a future episode about being an advocate for yourself and not being afraid to question your doctors or leave your doctor if you're not satisfied. But I ended up leaving that doctor. And when I transferred, he immediately got to work. It was like, we're going to order this test, this test, this test. I'm going to transfer you out to a fertility clinic for more in-depth testing. So I had lots of blood work. I had the test done where they checked to see if my fallopian tubes were properly working, if the flow was what it needed to be, making sure nothing was blocked. I had other tests done, lots of ultrasounds, lots of blood work. I can't remember the name of every single test I had done, but it was a lot. Lots of medication that was put on, trial and error to see what was working and what wouldn't work. Fertility medication, steroids, lots of things. And I remember getting to a point to where I was tired. I was so tired. I did not want to keep going. I was tired of trying because all through that, we were continuously trying. And so I would take the pregnancy test, one line, or I would take the pregnancy test, one line, one strong line, which is the test line, and a really faint second line. So much so I'm going with my phone flashlight, seeing light is or holding it up to the light. Is that a second pink line? And it was, so it counted. But then it would end in a miscarriage. So all throughout that period from the remainder of 2018, so my first miscarriage took place in June of 2018, and then all the way throughout that next year on into 2019, miscarriages, back to back to back. I had several miscarriages, several DNCs, and only one where it was so early on to where I didn't qualify, I guess, for a DNC. So I had to pass it at home. And that was very tough, very traumatic experience. But after all of that, I was tired. And there was a moment in time where I stopped. I gave up. Said, this isn't in the cards for me. I'll accept it for what it is. I'll just be a wonderful, loving auntie to all of my future nieces and nephews. And I had one nephew at the time and a niece that was on the way. And I was like, I'll be that auntie because this isn't in the cards for me and I'm tired because of course all the medication I was on, the side effects and things I was feeling, I was losing myself. I was a shell. I was a zombie just walking through life. The only thing I cared about was seeing two lines and being able to be pregnant. That's all I cared about. That's all my focus was on. And I was losing myself. And I felt very lonely and isolated because I felt like there was nobody that I could really talk to because nobody really talked about these things. I mean, you go into a doctor's office and they say, oh, this happens. I'm like, does it? Because nobody talks about it. Nobody says it. I only knew of two people at that time who had miscarriages. One was my mom and one was another lady back home who I remember her comforting my mom when she had her miscarriage. And then my aunt. It's three. Those are only people. So they were all way older than me. Of course, after I had my miscarriage, many people reached out because unfortunately we had announced that we were pregnant. And then I remember after I had my miscarriage and news got around, a lot of people reached out to me saying they experienced the same thing. I'm like, why isn't this like I understand and I appreciate it, them reaching out to me, but I'm like, why is this so like a secret thing? Like nobody's talking about it. And then, when I would want to reach out to people, I'm like, how do you talk about that? Because I'm sure it's a traumatic situation for them. So if I bring it up, they might not want to talk about it and they might feel like, I don't want to trigger anything for them. So I was very hesitant. It's like walking a fine line and not knowing what to do. So what do? We isolate. And it's easier for us to remain in silence and suffer in silence. And that's exactly what I was doing. So I remember after going through that point in time and all the things that were happening, fast forward to that next June, I'll never forget, I was sitting in vacation Bible school. And of course, me and my husband were a young newlywed couple. People at this point in time, many of them knew my story. I had a miscarriage, kept having miscarriages. And so what was the question people asked me? Oh, when are y'all going to try again? When are y'all going to have one? When y'all going to have a little one? When are you going to try again? First of all, inappropriate to ask. I know we mean well, but very inappropriate to ask. Because you don't realize that before we came here, I'm crying my eyes out because I just miscarried, or I just took a pregnancy test and it was negative, or I just passed a pregnant woman in the store, or I just saw a nursery item that I bought that was put away in a box and I'm crying because it triggered me when I saw it. Like, you never know. So while we mean well, very inappropriate. So I remember sitting in vacation Bible school. I was bombarded with questions from people, and I was like, you know what? I don't want anyone to ever feel like how I'm feeling right now. I was so overwhelmed with isolation, loneliness, feeling defeated, feeling emotionally spent. And I didn't want anybody else to feel like that. I'm like, are all women just going around here feeling like this right now and still operating in normal life? Because I feel like I need to go, like, be locked up somewhere. Like, I feel insane. And so literally I took out my phone and I had a notebook with me because I was planning to take notes while we were in vacation Bible school. And I remember I just started writing stuff down. And I took it to my husband after on our ride home. And I was like, what do you think about, like, if I started a community for women who are struggling with infertility? And of course, he's a man. He's like, cool. Like, yeah, I support you, whatever you want to do. And so that is where Hope in June started. And from there, it's evolved over the years. Like, I started out just making videos. My dad has a YouTube channel. Shout outs to the Church TV network. That's where I first started. He gave me my own playlist on his channel. He had a great following at the time. So he was like, this is a perfect way for you to get the word out. And so I was making videos that are still there to this day. The thing that kept me from continuing was I was still in my infertility journey. And so I remember I had just received, I can look back at the video and there's like a blankness in my eyes as I'm talking to this camera. And I remember because I had just taken a pregnancy test that was negative before I recorded that video. And you can just see it in my eyes. And so I realized, okay, while I want to help the people, I have to help and take care of me first, because I cannot pour into others if I'm empty. And I was absolutely an empty shell. So I decided to take a step back and really focus on myself and my journey. And when it came to that, again, I was accepting of the fact that this might not work out for me. This might be an ever-longing journey, a lifelong journey, if you will, to where I'm never able to have kids on my own. It might take outside help. It might take, IVF or even a surrogate. Like, I had considered that. And shout outs to the one that offered. I love you so much. You know who you are. I don't even know if you remember that you offered me that, but I love you very, very much. And you know that. But the fact that you were so selfless to do that, shout outs to you. But I was empty. And so I took a step back, focused on my journey, and I wanted to get to a place to where I was truly okay, whatever the circumstance. And that I wouldn't feel triggered every time I tried to talk about this and encourage someone else who was walking right alongside with me. And so I wanted to get to a good place. And so I felt like I had gotten to a good place whenever I want to start it again. And it just so happened to be after I was able to eventually start a family with the help of my doctor and some natural remedies from a wonderful lady back home in Alabama. I have a protein S deficiency, meaning I have antibodies in my blood that want to attack any foreign object, like my antibodies are on 10,000. So any foreign thing they want to attack. And so I had to take medicine to try to keep them at bay. So that's what they were doing. The fetus was a foreign object, so they were attacking, and it's all through my blood. So that's the best way I can explain it. Like I said, I'm no medical doctor, but that's how my doctor explained it to me. And so that's what was going on with me. So after I was put on medicine, I was able to hold a pregnancy all throughout. But of course, with that, I was always labeled high risk. In each pregnancy, I did experience different complications, even after giving birth and all those things. Aside from that, I decided to come back to Hope in June after I had my third child, because I knew I was done. I was done with it. But while I was trying to, again, pour into the people, I was battling some severe postpartum depression. And I had a lot of things going on, new things that were happening in my life, entering different seasons. It was a lot. And so again, I could not pour from an empty vessel. and I was empty at that moment in time. And so again, took a step back from it. And each time I took a step back, I always felt guilty because I'm like, these women need me. And all throughout these times, like different people will reach out to me with their stories, advice, and things like that. I'm like, crap, like I need to be doing this. I need to do it because it's needed. But I knew I couldn't do it if I wasn't fully healed from the things that I had experienced in my own personal life. So after much prayer and supplication, I am back, and this community is so near and dear to my heart. So the name Hope in June came from just me trying to hold on to hope and have hope that whatever my true heart's desires were would come to pass, and that whatever that looked like, I would be okay with it. That's what my hope in June was at that moment. So June signifying my first miscarriage. It took place in June. 1 year later, I had the idea to start this community, and that happened to be in the month of June. And then the year after that, I had my baby girl in the month of June. And her name actually has June in it. So June holds a very, very special, close place in my heart, as well as this community. At the time, I didn't have all the answers when I first started this or what I wanted it to look like. And it's fully like transformed and go through different stages. And so now I feel very confident in what it is that I want to do. And it's to be able to speak to you all and help you feel like you have a friend who understands, but also you have a friend that you don't have to explain anything to. I'm just here to sit with you. Sometimes we want all the encouragement, and sometimes we just want to vent. Sometimes we're ready to feel hopeful and expectant and feel encouraged, and sometimes we want to be mad. Sometimes we want to be angry, and we don't want to hear all that. I understand. So you have a friend who understands that, and I want this community to be a place where you feel safe feeling that way, because I didn't always feel safe feeling those feelings. I felt like I had to be positive all the time. I'm a Christian woman. And so, of course, I know that God has plans for me, and they may not always look the way I want them to or how I think they will. But regardless, He has a plan and a purpose for me. But even with being a Christian woman, I am still also a woman, and I don't feel positive all the time. I get angry. I get frustrated. And so I want you to have a safe place to where you can feel those things and voice it. That's something that my sister early on in my journey, she would call and check in on me. She was like, okay, this is your moment. Or she'd be like, how you feeling? And I tell her, and I'm being super positive and stuff over the phone. She was like, okay, now give me the real. She would always say that. She was like, this your time to be real. Give me the real. I'd be like, all right, this is how I really feel. So, and I would just let it out. And of course I would end up crying. She was like, okay, now how do you feel that you got that out? And I'd be like, I feel better. It's no longer stuck in my head. And so I want to be that for you, because everybody unfortunately doesn't have that. You might not have a sister or a friend who can remove themselves and how they feel and just be able to be there for you. So, hi, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Chandler, and I'm excited and ready to be that friend for you. This community is ready to be that friend for you. During this whole journey, I felt alone. I felt like that I was the only one. Again, you're not. It might feel that way, but you're not. You might feel like your body is broken, but it's not. You might feel like your body betrayed you, but ultimately it didn't, because guess what? You're still here. You're still here to live and fight another day. And so I pray that my story can show you that you can keep going. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to be okay and be ready to accept that no matter what that looks like. I will never forget. I keep saying this because that's a prayer my mom always used to pray over me when I would go through that time. She'd be like, Chandler, we have to be okay no matter what it looks like. And it might not look like how you want to, but we have to learn to be okay with that no matter what it looks like. And that was a hard pill to swallow. And so I'm saying that to you, but you might not feel that way today. You might not be there yet. And that's okay. Because guess what? When she first told me that, I was mad. I did not want to hear that. I'm like, no, I want to be, this is what I want. And I want it now. She's like, girl. And so you don't have to be there yet. And that's okay. But that's why I'm here to help you with. So my goal for Hope in June, aside from this podcast, just to be able to be encouraging to you all, share my story, share the things that I've learned along the way, and just really dive deep and shine a light on topics that get overlooked because we don't feel like we have a place to talk about them. So you guys can always look, the comment section is free to all on any social media platform, especially this one, to be able to share your feelings and share how you're feeling, what you're going through, how you feel right now in this moment. My DMs are also always open. If you ever want to share anything, you want advice, or you just want to vent and say how you're feeling just to get something off your chest, because I promise it feels so much better once you get it out versus keeping it in here. And so they're always open, and anything that you share with me, unless you tell me that I can share it, is always safe with me. I'll also include my email in the show notes. You also can utilize that place to always talk to me as well. When it comes to the future of Hope in June and what I foresee for this, I want the infertility community to stop feeling like they have to hide in the shadows, that they have to be silent, that they have to keep moving on in life, even though this is happening to them, and that they don't have a place where they can talk. So I want to provide that for you all through this format. We're also going to have an online community, so a true, safe, closed space with only us, to where we can really dive in deep to the things that we're feeling so that we can receive hope and feel encouraged as we go through these daily things within this journey. And again, everybody's in different stages of their season. And so whether you just experienced loss, you've been going through this and experiencing loss for many, many years, or if you're just had your first miscarriage, or if you've been told that, something tragic happened to you and you have to seek an entirely different route. Whatever the case is, in that waiting season, I want to be right there with you. And that's what this community is for. So not only through this podcast, but also online closed community, to where we're able to really dive into those topics, receive resources and things that help you along your way while you're in this season. Again, it's not to fix it, because unfortunately I can't fix it. If I could, I promise you I would. But since I can't fix it, I want to help to make it just a little bit lighter, just a little bit more hopeful while you're going through it. So many things to come, so many things planned when it comes to merch and having things to where you can feel encouraged and you can wear it and feel encouraged. Having in-person events to where we can really, really connect on a deeper level with each other and really link arms while we're in this waiting season. And then my ultimate goal is to be able to help those who are seeking fertility treatments but are unable to afford it, because we know how expensive it is to see a fertility doctor. We know how expensive it is to have all this testing done. We know how expensive it is to even think about IVF or IUI. And so I want to be able to help those who are in need that are seeking that as well. So that's me. That's my story. That's Hope in June. And I really hope that you all will stick around. Again, this is a horrible club to be a part of, but I'm glad that you found me. I'm glad I found you, and I'm glad that we'll be able to walk through this together. All right, you guys, before we go any further, I want to pause and share a moment from our community. Every week, someone from the Hope in June community reminds me that none of us are walking this journey alone. So in today's segment of Ask Chandler, I'm going to read one of the questions that you all have personally asked me to answer. All right, so today's question: what was the moment you realized you wanted to create Hope in June? So I kind of mentioned this in my story earlier. So I was literally in Vacation Bible School. I was sitting down, supposed to be listening to the adult class that I was in. And as I'm listening, the teacher that was teaching happened to be teaching in the book of Romans, and they were in Romans chapter 8, and they were talking about, being okay with your current circumstances, because it's not even anything that we're going through. The storms we're going through won't even be able to be compared to what's in the future for us. And so I heard that and I was like, hold on, I know this verse. It sounds familiar. I'm kind of tuning in and out, because remember, before I came, I had just received a negative test. And then, having people asking me things about, when are you guys trying again? Because we were at a different church's Vacation Bible School, so they hadn't seen me in a while. So, of course, that's the first question that they're going to ask. So I'm kind of tuning in and out. But when he said that, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. So I go to my Bible, I look at the verse. So it's a song that my cousin actually wrote that I used to sing in the choir back home. It's called Be Encouraged. At the end, my dad says, I reckon that my sufferings can't be compared to my glory. And so I started thinking about that, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. Because all while I'm experiencing all these things again, at this point, I've been going through this for a year. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, what is the purpose of this? One, why is this happening to me? Two, God, what are you trying to teach me? And so when I heard that, my ears, kind of perked up. And I'm like, okay, I'm reading this. I reckon that my sufferings can't be compared to my glory. I'm thinking about that song. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I just have to trust. That's all I have to do. Okay. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about, okay, so what I'm going through right now, whatever is going to happen, whatever the ending of this is going to be, whether it's me having children, whether it's me just being a loving auntie to all these sweet babies that my other friends and family are able to have, whether it's me being able to create this community and that be my baby. And I never have any physical children, but just me being able to pour into other women, and that's it, will not be able to be compared to the glory that is ahead for me. And y'all, that was the hope that I clung. When I say clung, I clung to it for dear life for the remainder of my journey. Because again, it was at that moment that I accepted it. I was like, okay, whatever this looks like, I do know, because that's a promise that he made. I do know that the present sufferings, what I'm feeling and suffering right now, it won't be even worth mentioning because of the glory that is ahead for me. I can sit here and truly say that surely it was not. I talk about it because I want to help and encourage somebody else. It's not even worth mentioning for all the blessings that I have now. The blessing to be able to create this community for you all, the blessings of my 4 beautiful children that I have, and the family that I have, the amazing support system that I have that watched me and kept me and encouraged me and held me up when I could not hold myself up throughout that entire time. So to answer the question, it was in that moment that I realized I wanted to create Hope in June, because I realized maybe that's my baby. Maybe Hope in June is my child. Maybe that's the purpose of all of this. I'll never have a physical child of my own, but maybe Hope in June is supposed to be that. It was that moment in Vacation Bible School, Romans 8:18. And so much so I have it tattooed on my arm to always serve as a reminder. And every time I hear that song, I tear up because it brings me back to that. It's not even worth comparing, y'all. It's not even worth comparing to whatever it is that God has for you on the other side. Promise you, that's a promise. Now, it might not look like, I have to keep saying this, might not look like what you think, but regardless, it's not even worth comparing to whatever it is that your present sufferings aren't even worth comparing to whatever he has for you. Ooh, that was not supposed to be heavy. It was supposed to be a lighthearted question. But okay, well, that means that this next segment is perfect because this is breathing space. So we're going to do a breathing exercise to close us out, so to bring us back, to help us resettle before we move on throughout our day. This part of the show is our quiet space where we're able to pause and reflect. So I'm going to go through today's breathing practice. No pressure. It's just an invitation for you to be able to be present with me in the moment. Okay, we're ready? I'm scoot to the edge of my seat. They say that you breathe better when you are sitting at the edge of your seat. Feet are grounded. Today's practice is called 3-count heart breath. So you're going to place your hand over your heart. So we're going to close our eyes or soften our gaze. If you're driving, I do not want you to close your eyes. Okay? If you're doing an activity, I do not want you to close your eyes. You can just soften your gaze. Okay? But I'm going to close my eyes. Hand over heart. Close your eyes. Become in tune with the beats of your heart. And after I count down, we are going to inhale through our nose for 3 counts. We're going to hold it for 1 count and notice our heartbeat. And then we're going to exhale for 4 counts through our mouth. Okay, so let's practice it first. Ready? Hand over heart. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And in 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. All right. We're going to do it one more time. As you're inhaling, I want you to imagine light filling your chest. As you hold, like I said, I want you to notice your heartbeat. And as you exhale, I want you to picture any tension leaving your body. We're going to do this for 3 cycles. Ready? Hand over heart. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Inhale. hold, exhale. Again, inhale, hold, exhale. And last time, inhale, hold, exhale. Good job, you guys. Good. With every breath, I hope that you honored where you've been and where you're going. Future episodes, we are going to do different segments, and I want you guys to be able to contribute to that. Lots of times, I will need you as a community to share your stories, to share different tips. So be on the lookout on our social media pages as well as our online community, where I'll drop different things where I will want your feedback that they can be shared with our community. All right, you guys, I have so enjoyed our time together. Thank you for spending a few moments of your day here with me. Today's conversation offered even a spark of hope. Then I would love for you to stay connected. So there are a couple ways you can do that. The first being the Hope Letter. So that is our weekly newsletter that goes out every week and it offers stories, journal prompts, quiet reminders, and updates on anything that's happening in our community. So you can sign up anytime through the link in the show notes. Also, you guys, I'm so excited. Our online community is officially launching in episode 2. So be sure to come back next week, because in episode 2, I'm going to give you all the details that you need to be able to join, offer deeper conversations. I'll be creating lots of resources, kind of support that only happens when we gather together, as well as some exclusive and bonus content. I can't wait to welcome you guys in. So more information on that in episode 2. If this episode resonated with you, then please share it with a friend, subscribe or follow on your favorite podcasting app. And be sure to join me on Instagram and TikTok on the Hope in June community for more gentle encouragement between episodes. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Until next time, remember, hope doesn't have to be loud to be real. Take a deep breath, carry a little light with you, and I'll meet you back here next week. Bye.